Hello and welcome back to yet another video of the Alejandro Hernandez podcast. And today I'm going to be giving you guys my predictions for the divisional round weekend. And we're going to open up with the Texans at the Chiefs. My lock for this game is the Chiefs to cover the negative 6.5 point spread. The line is 8.5, but for me personally, I'd go safer. I'd go with negative 6.5 just in case they win by a touchdown instead of by 9 points. You still cover. And my teaser for this game would be Chiefs money line paired with Travis Kelce anytime touchdown. I feel like vintage playoff Kelce shows up in this game. There's been reports that Kelce has toned down in his snap share. That's why you've seen Noah Gray step up in a big way this year. But Kelce's toned down his snap share, toned down his targets. But in these big games where they've needed him to come up big, he has come up big, and he's been fueling up for these playoffs. Coming off 23 days of rest, I feel like Kelce will be ready, and he will get in the end zone in this game. Matchups to watch for this game: Mahomes. In the divisional round, Mahomes is just a different animal. He's 6-0 in the divisional round, averages 302 yards passing a game, has 16 touchdowns to no interceptions, no turnovers in the divisional round, as well as a 70.4% completion percentage with an 115.8 quarterback rating. He's flawless. He beat the Colts in his first divisional round in 2018, 2019. He beat the Texans 2020. He beat the Browns 2021. The Jaguars, the Bills twice. It was 2021 he beat Buffalo, 22 was Jacksonville, 23 was Buffalo. He's just been flawless. You can't pick against the Chiefs in this spot. And I feel like the Texans are just outmatched. And in that first matchup between the Chiefs and the Texans, you noticed how Mahomes got the quick passing game going. They were getting quick dump offs to Xavier Worthy. He was making plays after the catch. Kelce was making plays after the catch. D-Hop was kind of their third down guy, a guy who on third down when the Texans played man coverage, just target him one-on-one. He made a couple plays, and then you also have Hollywood Brown back in the offense. This is when the Chiefs are at full strength. They haven't been at full strength the whole season. They've coming off 23 days of rest. Yeah, people might assume that the Chiefs will come out rusty. I don't think that'll happen. In their past divisional round games, they haven't really come out flat. They've actually come out strong, and I believe that'll happen again this time around. And I feel like that Texans-Chargers wildcard game was more about the Chargers collapse than it was about the Texans performing well. In that first half, the Texans were just trying to give the Chargers the game, with CJ turning the ball over, fumbles, sacks. The Chiefs' defense is no joke. And in the playoffs, I mean, the Chargers defense did perform well. I feel like the Chiefs' defense will be even better because they have an even better interior pass rush with Charles Omenihu, Chris Jones, Karlaftis. The Chiefs have just so many pass rushers that can get after CJ Stroud, and they'll be getting after him at Arrowhead. CJ Stroud's a way better home quarterback than he is a road quarterback. He went to Baltimore last divisional round, kept it close in the first half, and then just got blown out in the second half. I feel like that'll kind of be a similar result this time around. Not even sure the Texans will keep it close in the first half. I think the Chiefs get out the gate, get up early, and never look back. I have the Chiefs winning this one in blowout fashion. Vintage Mahomes and Kelce performance. Then later that night, we have Commanders at Lions. My prediction for this game is that the Lions will win. I don't have a conviction that they'll cover the spread, which is at 9.5, or the Washington will cover. It could really go either way. It could be the Lions up by a lot of points, and then all of a sudden the Commanders backdoor cover that by scoring a couple garbage time touchdowns. It could just be a really high-scoring game, and Jaden Daniels keeps them within reach. But if I had to go with a gut feeling, I'd say Detroit wins this by 10 points, maybe even more. I'd say my final score prediction would be 34-21 in favor of Detroit. Their offense is just a different beast, combined with Jared Goff passing the ball off play action to Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams. They got Khalif Raymond back. They have Tim Patrick, Sam Laporta. That's 5 weapons in the receiving game. Then they have Gibbs coming out of the backfield, and then they have Montgomery coming back from that MCL. I don't know if it was a tear or a sprain. I mean, you'd think it was a sprain given how fast he came back from it. But yeah, this Lions offense, coming off the bye, coming off rest, they're well rested. They're going to be well prepared, and this is just a complete mismatch for the Washington Commanders defense against this Lions offense. I expect Jahmyr Gibbs to have a monster game, considering that the Lions like to give him outside zone plays. toss plays, screen passes, giving him the ball in space. And Washington's area of strength on the defensive line is in their two interior D linemen with Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne. But if you go outside, if you hand off outside the tackles, then they're pretty exploitable in the run game, as you saw with Bucky Irving. You've seen with a lot of running backs playing the Commanders this year. The Commanders rank 27th in rushing defense in the NFL, and the Lions rank top 5 in rushing the football. So I expect Jahmyr Gibbs to go crazy in this game, break off big runs. Monty will beat him up in between the tackles. And I expect a 65-35 split between Gibbs. They'll ease back Montgomery. I'd say he gets 35% of the carries, but it's mostly Gibbs' backfield, especially considering how he performed when it was just his backfield alone. When Montgomery missed time, he was absolutely spectacular. And now moving on to the offensive side of the ball for the Commanders, Jaden Daniels, like I said the previous week, there's no moment that's too big for him. I still feel like he will perform well in this game, despite being at Detroit. Detroit's going to be the loudest it's ever been. But Tampa was also, he was on the road at Tampa, and the road factor didn't even seem to affect him. So I expect him to be sharp. He'll score some points, whether that's, he might stall out early and Detroit might get out to a big lead, but he'll crawl them back in the game. And I expect a big game from Terry McLaurin, given that the Lions don't really have that many corners, and their connection this year has just been spectacular. And I expect Jaden Daniels to be effective in the running game, scrambling specifically, because the Lions, in that game against Buffalo, you saw how Josh Allen was constantly able to break contain, and he was able to get outside the pocket. And Josh Allen killed the Lions defense when he scrambled out of the pocket, and receivers got open off the scramble drill. So I expect Jaden Daniels to have success doing that. But overall, I expect a ton of points in this game. The Lions will advance, but I don't really have a decisive opinion on whether or not who covers the spread, whether the Lions will cover the 10 or the Commanders will keep it a close game. I could see the Commanders backdoor covering, or I could see the Lions just absolutely beating the brakes off their defense, but I have the Lions advancing to the NFC Championship game. Now moving on to the Sunday slate. This is where I have my bold prediction for the weekend. I think the Rams go into Philadelphia and win this game outright. Even though they are 6-point underdogs, I trust Matt Stafford and Sean McVay more than I trust Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. I mentioned in my previous recap video how we noticed during the 6 wildcard games of this past weekend, the better coach and the better quarterback on each team won all 6 games. And I think that will apply once again to this divisional round. I've already picked Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid over DeMeco Ryans and CJ Stroud. I picked Jared Goff and Dan Campbell over Jaden Daniels and Dan Quinn. And in this scenario, I'm picking the better coach and quarterback duo over the inferior quarterback and coach duo. Now, the reason it's a 6-point spread, you'd assume with the better coach and the better quarterback, you wouldn't be 6-point underdogs. The Eagles roster is just stacked compared to the Rams. The Rams have a very young defense. They have a mid-tier offensive line. And I guess Vegas sees that as a complete mismatch. You also look back to the regular season matchup when the Eagles won 37-20 by a just dominant Saquon Barkley performance. That is the one factor where I think the Eagles, if they do win this game, it will be because Saquon Barkley has an MVP-type performance. But given that the Rams already allowed him to go wild on 255 yards in the first matchup, I think that they will sell out to stop the run in this game, especially given the weather conditions. It's expected to snow, which is going to be a weird factor that will affect both teams because the Eagles have never really played in the snow in this new era with Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Saquon. They haven't really played a snow game, a big game with those weather conditions, as well as the Rams. Stafford's played in a couple snow games in the past in his career, but like these two squads currently and today have not played a snow game, so I have no idea how that's going to impact whichever who will give that, what the weather will give the advantage to their team. I think it will affect both teams, so neither team will have an excuse on, oh, we didn't play well because of the snow. Well, the other team was also playing in it. So that's going to be an interesting factor. Like I said, I think the Rams will stack the box. They'll force Jalen Hurts to beat him with his arm. And Green Bay, he couldn't really get anything going. And the Rams just played the Vikings. I'd argue that the Vikings' top 2 receivers are better than the Eagles' duo. Justin Jefferson is better than A.J. Brown, and you could say Devonta Smith is better than Jordan Addison, but Addison just had a breakout year. You could argue either or, but my point is that the Rams were able to hold their own in the secondary with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. They didn't let them take over the game. And I feel like if they try to sell out the run with Saquon and they put everyone in the box, that they won't get killed in the deep passing game from Jalen Hurts. Yeah, maybe A.J. Brown will make a catch or two downfield, but they won't have monster games since they contained Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison in the previous matchup. And the Rams playmakers, they will have to come up huge in this game. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Kyren Williams. Tyler Higbee's status is still uncertain for this game. They're not sure if he can go. If he can, it'll be a great asset for their offense. But those three players I just mentioned, Cooper Kupp especially, who has been pretty much a non-factor in the past couple months of the season, he's going to have a big game if the Rams want any chance of winning this game. And I think he's capable of it given the playoff run that he went on in 2021. He has it in him. Stafford needs to give him the ball. They need to draw up plays for him. And Puka Nacua has to have a stellar performance if they want any chance of winning this game. Kyren Williams has been a great runner all season. Not sure how his yards per carry will be this game. I'm sure Sean McVay will try to establish the run with him. And if they do, then that's a great advantage for the Rams. But if not, then I expect Stafford, who's been an incredible playoff performer, to step up and carry his offense to this win. And the Eagles defense gets a lot of praise, but people seem to forget that Jaden Daniels, I believe it was either week 15 or 16, put up 36 points on that same Eagles defense. So they can be had. They can have points scored on them by a great offense. So we'll see how the Eagles defense matches up with the Rams offense, but I'm trusting that Matt Stafford and Sean McVay will come up with a great game plan to attack that Eagles defense and attack their weaknesses. A big injury for the Eagles is Nakobe Dean, their middle linebacker, who has been stellar against the run. He's been a great coverage linebacker. He's out for the remainder of the playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see how the Eagles try to cover up now that hole in their middle of their defense. But like I said before, Matt Stafford, unbelievable playoff performer, especially since the Lions and the Rams made that trade. Matt Stafford under Sean McVay in the playoffs, 5-1 record, 294 passing yards a game, 13 TDs to 3 interceptions. And he's been in this spot before as the number 4 seed going on the road to play the 2 seed in the divisional. He went on the road to Tampa in 2021 against Tom Brady, the reigning Super Bowl champions in the Buccaneers, and beat them in Tom Brady's house. He's capable of a type of upset victory like this, and I believe that he will get it done. Now, given that I believe that this outcome will happen, Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni are going to receive a lot of heat, and I think they will be the reason the Eagles do not win this game. Jalen Hurts will underperform, and Nick Sirianni, he's going to have some tough decisions to make in this game. He's been criticized for his decisions on 4th downs in previous seasons and previous playoff games, but he's probably going to have one of those decisions to make in this game, and we'll see how he handles to make that decision. Now, whether he chooses to go for it, he may get it or not, but let's say he takes out Jake Elliott for a field goal. Let's look at Jake Elliott's season. Missed extra point in this past playoff game against the Packers. Missed field goal against Washington. And in that game, the 36-33 game, they lost by 3 points, and Jake Elliott missed a field goal in that game. Then in the previous Washington matchup, Jake Elliott, 2 missed field goals, 1 missed extra point. And Jake Elliott this season is 1 for 7 on field goals of 50-plus yards. So if the Eagles are, let's say, in a 4th and 7, and they're at the 36-yard line, and it's a 53-yard field goal attempt, Jake Elliott's 1 for 7 from that range. I wouldn't trust that Jake Elliott can make field goals like that, especially in the magnitude. Now you put on the weather factor that it's horrible weather, so who knows who's going to be able to kick field goals or extra points in this game. Nick Sirianni is going to have some tough decisions to make on whether he's going to go for it on 4th downs, and if the Eagles execute on these 4th downs, and if they don't, the Rams will take full advantage of it. It's a bold prediction. The Rams are 6-point underdogs. I'm taking them to storm into Philadelphia and get this win. Don't get me wrong, I'm wearing a Giants jersey. I love Saquon Barkley, but this year isn't going to be the year for him, and the reason being Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni hold his team back from winning a Super Bowl. Now, moving on to the final game of the divisional round, the most hyped up game of this divisional round, Baltimore Ravens at Buffalo Bills. I have the Bills winning this game. Josh Allen, in my opinion, will outplay Lamar Jackson and will solidify his case for winning league MVP in this game. Josh Allen has been spectacular in the playoffs, specifically the wild card round. He struggled past the wild card round, but I feel like he will get over that hump in this game at home, and he'll get the job done. Now, the matchups to look out for in this game: Derrick Henry, who dominated the Week 4 matchup, rushing for 199 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first matchup. The media is trying to make this Lamar versus Josh Allen, but I really think it's Derrick Henry against this Bills defense. That's the true story of this game and how the Bills will try to attack Henry and stop this Ravens rushing offense. In that game, in the Week 4 game, when Derrick Henry ran all over them, the Bills did not have arguably their most important defensive player in Matt Milano. He's the middle linebacker. He's like the quarterback of their defense. They didn't have him in that matchup. They were also without Teron Johnson, who is a great slot cornerback. He helps out in the run game. They were without him. They missed him a lot because once Derrick Henry broke those runs into the second level, the Bills secondary stood no chance trying to bring him down. And the Bills were also without their other great linebacker, Terrell Bernard, which explains why Henry was able to run for that many yards in the first place. The Bills were without 3 key run defenders in that game, and now they have all those players back. Another injury to look out for in this game is Zay Flowers, who was a DNP in Wednesday's practice. I'm recording this on a Thursday night, so we'll see how his status is. If he's out, then that's advantage Bills. If he isn't out and he plays, then that's another piece for the Ravens offense. But if not, then Lamar Jackson is going to be in for a tough game because the Bills are going to sell out to stop the run. And teams that have done that against the Ravens in the playoffs, the Ravens tend to abandon the run. And let's look at the recent playoff history. I mean, in terms of Derrick Henry, when he was on the Titans, in his playoff career, his team was 4-0 when he rushes for over 100 yards. But when he doesn't run for 100 yards, he's 0-4. So teams that effectively stop Derrick Henry end up winning the game. So we'll see if the Bills can keep him under 100, and if they do, then I expect the Bills to win this game. And in the 4 biggest games of Lamar's playoff career, he has underperformed massively. Let's look back at his first game, 2018, at home against the Chargers in the wildcard round. He passed for 14 for 29, under 50% completion percentage, 248 total yards, 2 touchdowns in garbage time, and he also had two turnovers earlier in that game, along with 3 total fumbles. In the second game, at home against the Titans in 2019, coming off an MVP season where he passed for 36 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. MVP, unanimous MVP. 31 of 59, 509 total yards, and 1 touchdown. All of this was in garbage time. This game was over the Titans ended this game in the third quarter. They went into the fourth quarter leading 28-6. And yeah, Lamar's numbers, yardage-wise, look great, but he stat padded at the end of this game. Now moving on to the 4th playoff game, at home at Buffalo in the divisional of 2020. Lamar passed for 14 for 24, 196 total yards, 0 TDs, and a game-losing 100-yard pick 6 to who I previously mentioned, Teron Johnson, who is now back for this game. And he ended up exiting that game with a concussion and did not return. Then his most recent playoff game last year, not the Steelers game, but the Chiefs at home in the AFC Championship game. Once again, an MVP season. In this game, he did not play like the MVP. 20 of 37, 339 total yards, 1 touchdown, and a game-losing interception in which he threw it in triple coverage to Isaiah Likely in the end zone. You could also put that game on Zay Flowers for his unnecessary roughness penalty. Then on top of that, the goal line fumble, but Lamar underperformed. Considering he was the league MVP. He did not play like the league MVP in this game against the Chiefs. And a common theme in these 4 big playoff losses for Lamar is the Ravens completely abandoning their biggest strength, which is the running game. They get down early in these games and they simply forget who they are. They start throwing the ball like they're Patrick Mahomes, trying to give Lamar 40 pass attempts. Let's look at the pass attempts. 29 against the Chargers, 59 against the Titans, 24 against the Bills. He ended up leaving in the fourth quarter. 37 against the Chiefs. These aren't Lamar Jackson numbers. Lamar Jackson is great when he's throwing 20 to 25 times a game, completing 80% of his passes, throwing for like 4 touchdowns. That is when Lamar Jackson's at his best, but it seems like the complete opposite result comes out in the playoffs. And I think that Josh Allen will outplay Lamar. And given all these things, I think the Bills take a commanding lead early in this game. They're at home. They'll come out strong, and that'll rattle Lamar. And now the biggest factor of this new Ravens is that they haven't had Derrick Henry. Well, will they use him if they go down early is the big question. The opening game of this season when they went to Arrowhead to play Kansas City, Derrick Henry was pretty much a non-factor in that game. They ran him very early, but then the Chiefs came back and then they forgot they had Derrick Henry. So let's see if that happens again. This game is being hyped up like it's the game of the year, that's been the past cases with the Ravens. Last year's AFC Championship game, they were favored. That was supposed to be a great offensive shootout. The score was 17-10. Ravens hosting the Titans in Lamar's MVP year, blowout. Opening first Lamar's playoff debut, blowout. Bills at the Bills in the 2020 divisional, blowout. So, given that, I think the Bills win this game. Whether it's a blowout, I would not be surprised. If it's close, I still prefer Josh Allen over Lamar Jackson in a close game in the fourth quarter. I want Josh Allen. I want to be betting on Josh Allen to win that game. I'd be nervous if I had Lamar in that spot late in the fourth quarter tie ball game or he's down. I'd want Josh Allen 10 times. I'd take Josh Allen 10 times out of 10 over Lamar Jackson in that scenario. And I don't see the scenario where the Ravens win this game by blowout, given that the game is at Buffalo. Buffalo has been playing great all season. They beat the Lions. They beat the Chiefs. Buffalo's a great team. They're not getting... Yes, they did get blown out in that first matchup, but like I previously stated, they were without their three best defensive players. This is a different Bills team. They'll be ready. They'll come out strong, fast, and early, and they'll beat the Ravens and advance to the AFC Championship game. All right, so just a quick summary. We got the Chiefs, the Lions, the Rams, and the Bills advancing to the championship games. That'll bring a crazy storyline heading into the NFC Championship game. Rams at Lions. Same storyline as last year, except the stakes are even higher this time because last time it was a wild card matchup. This time it will be an NFC Championship matchup. Will Matt Stafford, the quarterback the Lions drafted and then traded away, will he be the one to prevent them from going to the Super Bowl, or will the Lions get over the hump and reach their first ever franchise Super Bowl? Then on the other side, you have Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, part 4 in the playoffs. Mahomes is 3-0 against him. This game will be at Arrowhead. That'll set up an absolutely insane matchup in the AFC Championship game. If things play out the way I think they will, then I'll be seeing you guys next week, and I'll give you guys my prediction for those potential matchups. But if things play out differently, then we'll see. But I'm very confident this week. I'll drop my parlay right here, and I'll see you guys next week.